KCB has announced a good set of numbers aggregating to about a 16% jump in profit before tax, about 11.7 billion shillings. And you did say it was anchored by the double-digit growth that we saw in net interest income as well as in the loan book. Let's talk about the environment in which you were operating in the first half that enabled this growth.
So I'll say that in the last quarter, we've seen, first quarter was a little bit slower for us and for the market in general. But if you look at the last 3 months of the year, we've seen a lot of activities. In fact, Beatrice, you look at the complete loan portfolio. So today we have applications worth 60 billion shillings approved at different stages of drawdowns in all sectors. And this is even whether it's a small enterprise today, whether it's an agriculture sector, whether it is on trade and mining. We have a new guy in oil and gas, which has come in, is something like 4 or 5 billion shillings. We have a new development of shopping malls happening in the town today. And when you look at that, we had a big project of Nakumatt. You saw the Nakumatt acquisition in Tanzania, which we did for themselves. And there's a big ticket deal. See, we are involved as a bank to do the bigger development to push economic activity for the nation and work on the value chain. That is both. You have to do both. We couldn't focus on one segment of the market as well. But also inflation expectations, foreign currency expectations, and the Eurobond has been a big, good rebounding information for the market in the last 3 months. Actually, we are sitting on a good space. So for me, in terms of the macroeconomics for the country, I must say well done to the team at the National Treasury.
Of course, as a follow-up to what you've just mentioned with regards to the sectors, saying that you saw some very good growth across all sectors. If you were to rank them in terms of the top 3, where did you see the greatest growth?
Construction was an area that we saw huge, both ways. So in the last year, in the last quarter, we talked about delayed payments. There's been a dramatic shift, and when we speak, I think it's good to see in the long run. So there's been huge payments, Beatrice. You couldn't believe close to 25 billion shillings have been paid. So whereas we were saying a while back contractors were difficult, today they are absolutely outstanding, And you can see that in our drop. I have received the last 3 billion payments, and our NPL is going to be down to 6.3%. We've seen a lot on the real estate. So not just mortgage, but we've seen construction of, malls, whether it's on the village market side. You see some work when you see Surrey Center, but it's village market side. We've seen that as a big area. Conference tourism hotel, we've seen that running. We've seen growth in the micro enterprises as well, or small enterprises, as we call them.
Joshua, a key concern for me that I saw from the numbers was the non-performing loan ratio that was sitting at about 8.8% for KCB. Now, the central bank did issue the first half performance for the industry, and was showing that it was sitting at about 5.7%. Although this was a 7% increase on an industry level, and I know KCB dropped by about 50 basis points, KCB is still sitting higher than the industry. Let's talk about that.
For us, and traditionally, let me say that we're the largest lender in the market by all measures. So by nature, we have got large clients, correct? And no other bank. I think we have to be looking at a different kind of lens of analysis. So we were at 6% in 2012. We went to 8% in 2013 because of delays on. We have the biggest portfolio of contractors. So if you look at the top 6 to 7 contractors, we provide solutions for them in terms of financing. If we look at some of the realist projects, big projects as well. So we had 1 or 2 clients which we had lent, and they were slow in terms of repayment. So one client move is 2% by NPL ratio. So it's not a systemic issue. You have got 1 or 2 clients. So that, for us, is a cycle. So when we say we'll be down to 6%, I'm very confident. In fact, our internal target is to be at 4.5%.
During the investor briefing, Joshua, you did mention that KCB will be embarking on an international debt instrument and also an international rating. Give us some more details on that.
The strategy for an international debt instrument is to match a long-term vision of the mortgage market. It's very targeted. It's very deliberate. And so it's a match of an opportunity with the need of financing. And when that is connected together, we will raise the funds. But the vision is around 1 million mortgages in our market in the next 3 to 5 years. So the rating is happening this year. So we are doing an international rating. We couldn't say today who is doing it, but it's with the top 3, as you could imagine. So it's either Moody's or Fitch or S&P, but we should be able to finalize the process at the end of the year.
Let's now talk about South Sudan, Joshua. And you did mention that business there was on a rebound. But looking at the loan growth portfolio, it's the only country in the 6 that you operate that did not have any increase or growth on the loan book. What are the plans for South Sudan?
So we've been very cautious this year in South Sudan, because a lot of the property was destroyed in 3 states. So our view was much more cautious, just to understand which government is in control in the market, and how do we engage them to see how do we protect the investments. Because at the end of the day, Beatrice, we have to be a business that protects the future of our organizations. We don't want to invest our resources in a country where we're not confident today. And that discussion has now happened. So we were not lending, we were lending to very few organizations we knew. So for instance, they were not paying their own staff. But they have now started paying their staff from the month of May. We had 7 branches which we wanted to open up this year. But we are now doing 2. We've done 2 already. We will not do all the 7. We perhaps will do another 3 in the second half of this year.
The bank has a surplus of about 15 billion shillings in capital. What are the plans going forward?
No new markets for this year. With no new markets, we want to strengthen our current businesses. We are looking at the region. Just came out from Zambia, very exciting market. We got a request to set up business there. We are looking at Mozambique, which is just a new kind of request which we never had before. We will be looking at Somalia, Ethiopia, and DRC. Those remain our markets today. And our natural growth will be an M&A.
You say not this year. Can we expect something next year?
Most likely, we will be in another 2 new markets in 2015, but I couldn't tell you what the markets will be.